G'day and welcome to the next Torpedo7 How to Outdoor Club live stream. Today we're going to be talking about how to set up your campsite in 10 minutes. We're going to have some live demonstrations. I've got two lovely assistants that will be joining me shortly, and we're going to run through how to set up your tent. We've got sleeping bags and beds and cooking gear and everything else, and we're going to be sharing some tips and tricks about how to make your life a bit easier when you're out there camping. So just introducing my co-hosts. Tonight we have the lovely Lucy, who is one of our Torpedo7 staff members down at the Albany store. We're out here in the great outdoors tonight, and we've also got Thomas. And so Thomas and Lucy are both going to come and help me set up our tent, our sleeping bags, our mattresses, our cookers, and everything ready to go. I've got myself two young kids. I've got a 5-year-old and 2-year-old and camping. If you're not ready for it, if you're not prepared, it can be a bit stressful, but it's really easy to make it more family friendly. Little tips like things like the zips can actually pulled up nice and high on the doors at night, making sure that the kids can't get out by themselves. We actually are selling a new tent that's going to be landing very shortly in our stores, which has actually got blackout. Blackout allows you to actually sleep in your tent for longer because it's going to keep the light out when the dawn's coming up nice and quickly, or again when the kids are going to bed and it's still light outside. It's going to help them get to sleep a bit easier. Shall we start a timer? So we'll do a bit of a countdown. So we're ready, team?
I'm done ready.
One of the other tips we're going to do is it's actually really good to delegate someone who's going to be in charge and to do the different jobs. So Lucy's going to be in charge tonight and setting up the tent. She's going to do the pumping, and we're going to have Thomas helping peg it out. So right, ready, steady, go. Let's go 10 minutes, starting now. So here we have the team pulling out the tent. One of the key things we want to do soon is to roll out the tent and to get it pegged out. Once we have those 4 corners pegged out, it's going to be a lot easier to set up the rest of the tent. Now today we have one of our Air Series 500 tents. Now the benefit with the Air Series tents is they just pump up. There's no poles to find. You don't need to figure out which pole goes where. Another really good tip is actually choosing your campsite in advance. So today we have a nice flat area which we've set up. So we found the best places where there's not sticks and stones and things that you're going to be sleeping on that are getting lumpy. And nice and flat means that we're not going to be sitting in puddles if it ever rains or things like that. So Thomas is going to start pegging out very shortly and put pegs in each of the 4 corners. Once we've done that, we can then attach the pump, and it's almost a 5-minute job or less to get the tent up. And it's going to be, the benefit with the Air Series tents as well is they're also very rigid in the wind. So we have very you still want to put out your guy ropes if it's extremely strong wind to keep it nice and stable, but makes it nice and easy. With the Air Series tents, the inside is already set up on the tent, so the fly is already on. The fly is the outer part of the tent that's going to keep it nice and waterproof, so we can set up the tent without getting the inside nice and wet. Another really good tip is to leave the windows open when you pack the tent away. Now leaving the windows open is going to allow air to go into the tent as the tent rises, and is actually then going to pump up a lot easier. So we've inflated the first beam. There's actually 3 beams in the Air Series tents to keep it nice and rigid. And another really good tip is to take duct tape with you. Duct tape can be used for all sorts of purposes. If you ever have anything from a makeshift band-aid or patching a hole in either the floor of a tent or the air beams. Now the beams themselves are actually really, really rigid and strong, kind of thinking like an inflatable boat more than a airbed. So they're very unlikely to go down. The pump that actually comes included in the tent actually has a little blow-off valve as well, allowing the tent to get nice and rigid without putting too much pressure that we don't want it to pop. So that will help you to do that. So Lucy's just inflating the second beam there, and we've already got the first beam there trying to actually pop up. And as we pump up the second beam, that's just getting nice and firm there. So what sort of tent and what sort of size tent do you need for a family? Now obviously the bigger the better. Now you do have to take into consideration where are you putting it, what campsites you're going to. Top 10 campsites or other campsites around the country often will tell you what size area you get, and so you want to make sure your tent fits within those dimensions, so you don't need to book 2 tent sites. But the Air Series 5 is a 5-person tent in the sleeping area, but has lots of room for in the front for if it's wet. You want a tent that's got plenty of room that you can spread out all your gear, and again if you do get stuck in there you're not getting cabin feeder. So usually the 5 people is 5 people sleeping side by side, not a lot of gear in there at the time. So again, the bigger you can go, the better. So even if it might be a 6 or a 10-man tent, that will be nice and comfortable for a family of 4 to 6 people. Really comfortable with lots of gear. Yeah, so actually when you're buying a tent, it's actually very good information to look at, because there are a lot of cheaper tents on the market, and you'll find that the waterproof rating on them is not so good. Anything from sort of 1,000 millimeters is there, so the ratings of waterproofing is done in millimeters. 1,000 millimeters is okay, but some of the tents that we do, like the Air Series here, is actually up to 3,000 millimeter waterproof, so it's going to be a lot more waterproof in those really torrential downpours. Something else is also making sure that when you set up your beds and things, they're away from the walls, you're not getting condensation and that coming through. Now, just a bit of a time, we've got the tent almost up, and we're doing about 5 minutes 30 to go, so not even quite halfway yet. So we'll still have plenty of time to get our gear in. So after we've got the tent set up, the next thing you probably want to do is get the bedding done. Now, today we've chosen a self-inflating mattress. Now, the benefit with those is you don't have to do all the work to inflate them. They also have foam inside them, so they're way more comfortable than an air bed, a lot warmer as well. So Lucy's just taking out our mattress. Now inside the tent there's a nice room. It's actually got a room divider as well, which means if you have got different couples or people sleeping in there, or you've got the kids in one half, you can actually divide the room off. They are actually also removable as well, so you can actually make it into one big open space. Not essential. They will help if you've got a really particular stony or a lot of sticks on the ground, things to protect the bottom of your tent, make it last longer. Not essential though. On something like a hiking tent, which is built for weight and size, like a mamuku that we sell, our lightweight hiking tents, we do actually sell a separate ground sheet for those, because they are designed to be a bit lighter weight. The fabric's a little bit thinner, and so having a ground sheet will enhance the length of lifespan of your tent, but not necessary, especially in the family tents. They've got quite durable floors to them. One of the other features is actually a bucket floor, so you actually notice the floor actually comes up slightly, so if you are in a really wet area, it's going to stop the water coming into the tent. And actually a really good tip is to have a doormat at your tent, so you can wipe your shoes and do that. After we've got the tent set up, one of the next things after the sleeping we'll do is actually set up the cooking area. And the cooking area is really important to choose a good place for that as well. You want to do it in a well ventilated area. We want to make it nice and stable, and we want to keep the fire away from anything that's flammable like the tents. Not in my experience. I've got an Air Series 5 as well, 500, and I've taken them away for a couple of weeks on end, and haven't had any issues with them deflating. The air itself will expand in the sun during the day, which is also why we don't want to pump it up too much, which is why we have that blow off valve in the pump. And again, as it cools down at night, they will shrink a little bit, but they're still very rigid. For time, we're now at 2 minutes 40 to go, so we still have a bit of time in our 10-minute challenge. We've now got the sleeping mat self-inflating. Open up the valves, and the foam inside it will actually inflate it by itself. We have a double sleeping bag here. The benefit of the double sleeping bag is you can be nice and cuddly next to your partner, and or again, if things get a bit more tense between you, they actually split into 2 single sleeping bags too, so it makes it nice and easy. My son especially, he's only 2, but he loves helping with pumping. So again, an Air Series tent, it's nice and easy, but if you don't have an Air Series tent, then just doing things like finding the pegs and helping hammer is really, really cool. Going and helping fetch things as well. Just giving them something to do to keep them occupied is a key thing. If you go on Google, look up top 10 holiday parks. We also do, there's a lot of other holiday parks around the country that you can stay at. Doc also do some campsites around places like Tawharanui and other places too, which can be really nice to stay at. And a lot of Auckland Council and other councils have their own campgrounds too. So there's lots of places you can find really awesome places to sleep this summer, and some really exciting adventures to do in the nearby area. Airbeds themselves, again, one of the reasons why I like these self-inflating mats is they have a foam which will help to stop air movement within the mat, and therefore keep you warmer. Your body heats up the air that it is trapped, and it works better that way. Airbeds themselves will get a little bit colder, so you don't need to have anything. They do insulate you from the ground, but a foam-filled mat will keep you warmer. Or just we again investing in a good sleeping bag, and again we do synthetic sleeping bags. They tend to be a bit bigger, which are great if you're car camping and they don't mind getting wet as well. They'll keep you warm when wet. We also do down bags, which are the lot smaller pack down size, and great for when you're hiking. So just doing a quick time check, we have just hit 10 minutes. So we have our tent set up. We have our guy ropes out, We've now got our chairs out,
Beds
and
inflated.
our beds inflated, sleeping bag out. We still have our cooker to go. We'll be all set up. So it didn't quite hit the 10 minutes, but we weren't also rushing. And again, the benefit with it is if you don't rush, you can do it well and get it all set up nice and easy without stress. I have a 2-year-old, and we actually have a nice merino sleeping bag that they get zipped into with their arms, so that they can't roll out of their sleeping bag, which is nice. Also, keeping them cool at night when it's hot and summery is just, again, using different layers, monitoring the clothing. We, again, at Torpedo7, we do some really cool kids clothing, both merino, which is a natural fibre, so help keep the body regulated in temperature a lot better. It does depend. A lot of people have barbecues at home using a nice 9 kg bottle, a really big bottle, and it's going to last you a long time. It is a bit bulky if you are limited to space in your car, so that's where some of the smaller sort of 2 to 4 kg bottles can come in handy. The one thing you want to check though is, just before you go, is to check that the camping stove you have fits onto your gas bottle. There is a few different types of fittings. Again, check with your staff as well if you're unsure at your lovely Torpedo7 store. And we also sell adapters, so you can then make your stove that's designed for the small bottles fit on big bottles and vice versa. It depends. Again, airbeds and stretchers work really well, though they do get them off the ground. Again, if they're really young kids, I just have a porta cot. Again, I really love the self-inflating mattresses personally myself. My whole family uses them. They're off the ground, but not hugely off the ground, so if you do roll off them in the middle of the night, you're not going to suddenly fall far, and then you're just going to keep you a bit warmer with the self-inflating mats and be really easy to set up. Unfortunately, if it is wet, you do need to make sure that you take it out when you get home. Make sure you air it out, and that can be a little bit hard if you haven't got much space, but it is really worth it to make your tent last longer. Mold and mildew will actually help destroy the waterproofing in your tent. They actually eat the fabric. Also, when you're packing it up, a really good tip is actually taking wet wipes. Great for cleaning up, especially sticky kids and other messes later on when you're out camping. But wet wipes also help you to clean off any bird poo, which will also be acidic and damage the waterproofing on your tent. Packing them up, if you ever want to know how big to fold them up, if the tent comes with any poles, like this one here has the poles on the awning, the size that the poles are when they're packed away should be the size of the tent bag, roughly. So if you can get your tent rolled up about the same width as the poles, it will always fit in the tent bag. Something else with the tent bags is they've got a lot better recently, and especially with Torpedo7 branded ones, they're actually very generous in size, so you can actually, even if you don't pack it quite so well as it came out of the box, it will still fit really easily. Something else that's really good accessory is actually one of our camp trolleys. We have some nice fold-up trolleys, and they actually allow you to lug all your gear, because often you might have to park further away than where your campsite is, and it's a real mission to carry the big heavy cookers and other bits and pieces with you. So a great tip is to have something with wheels. So whether it be a chili bin with wheels or one of these camp trolleys makes a big difference. Also, if you've got tired kids, really easy to pull around if you're taking them on a walk down to the lake or the beach, wherever you're camping. Another key tip is lighting. So we have rechargeable lanterns. This one here from T7 actually also turns into a torch, so if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, it makes it nice and easy. And you can detach those, comes with 2 torches included. Also, headlamps make a big difference, so they're hands-free, so if you have to set up in the dark, you can still be using your hammer and pegs, or again, going to the bathroom makes it nice and easy. So some of our Torpedo7 headlamps, really good idea, and they start from about $39. Cheaper if you're also a member of our club. So make sure you do sign up to our club, it's free, and you get extra deals when you're in store, especially on Torpedo7 products. Another key tip is also fairy lights, which I've bought a set here as well, and they're really good for marking out your tent, so you know which is your tent when you get back to it, especially if you've gone to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which is often further away from where you're camping. You can find your tent in the night with the fairy lights, and also makes it just a bit more festive, so nice little atmosphere, bit of glamping there. Yeah, charging your electronics. So again, if you're out and about camping, and you want us to be able to use the phone, especially to keep the kids occupied, sometimes you just need to get them on a device, then you probably want to get something that's a power bank or a solar charger. Power banks are good, but they do run out, so we sell Goal Zero. The benefit with the Goal Zero ones is they actually can be solar charging at the same time they're also drawing power, so they can be charging your device and charging themselves at the same time, which makes them quite unique. Also, powered campsites. If you're out at a top 10, you can buy the powered campsite, and one of the key tips is to buy one of the power leads. They don't take a normal power lead at your campsites, they take a 16 amp one, which has a slightly different plug end, and my lovely assistant will bring one over to the camera shortly. But these Gold Air ones are quite good. They're nice and long, they have the right connection on them, so you can connect to the power thing there. They also have an RCD which will stop any, if it does get wet or other things, stop it, it'll trip out rather than become dangerous. So those are really, really good. They're about 99 bucks, but they make a big difference. You can then also have a multi-board. Also, all our tents actually have a power port, so you can actually unzip a little zip built into the bottom near the floor and actually pass the power point through your tent while still keeping the bugs out, which makes it nice and easy. Keeping your tent nice and clean, things, especially when you're packing it away, I bring an old towel with me and also a brush and dustpan. Makes it great for cleaning up spills and other things. Also any grass that, especially if it's been mown recently, like we around here, you'll tramp a lot of grass and dirt into your tent. So having that brush and dustpan makes it nice and easy to clean up. Also a tip for packing down, on our mallet, we have just a simple little hook, little cup hook. So I've just put that onto the end of my wooden mallet, and that allows you to pull the pegs out really easily. I actually keep a mallet in my tent with me. It's a really good tip. I bought a spare one and just tucked it in the bag, and therefore whenever I'm there it's always ready to go. You don't have to worry about having something to hammer the pegs in. A really good tip is also to make sure you put up your gear before you go. It's really good to get the kids actually out in the backyard having a fun camping experience, when if something does go a bit wrong or they don't quite like it as much as you thought they might, then it's not far away from just going to bed. It gets them used to the camp noises as well, the car going past or other bird noises at night, so they're not quite so scared. It's also a really good chance to check that all your equipment works really well. So your tent is all there, you've got plenty of pegs, you've got all the guy ropes you need, and you know how to put it up. So again, you can do it in a hurry, when it's wet, when it's raining, and you're really familiar with the gear. I quite like the LPG bottle ones. They're big, they're strong, and they also burn really hot. So it's the thing with camping is that you generally want to boil a lot of water in a hurry. You don't want to sit around waiting for it. Don't want to use a lot of gas. So having something that you can put a big pot on, cook a lot of food, have multiple burners going at the same time, nice and stable, wind shielded, so you're not having issues with the wind, makes a real big difference. One of the other accessories we sell in store as well is a cast iron grill plate. It turns the camp cooker here into a barbecue, allowing you to do your steaks and your sausages as well. Makes it nice and easy. This is actually our deluxe model as well. You actually have a grill underneath, which makes it super easy. Another quick tip is to have pre-frozen some Coke bottles or other things to chuck in your chili bin before you go, and it keeps things nice and cold. But when they melt, they don't let water all through your lettuces and other food. Again, thank you very, very much for tuning in tonight. We'll quickly go to our lovely co-hosts and see if they have any tips and tricks that we haven't mentioned yet, and then we'll call it a night.
I think we're all set up, ready to go. We've got our bed, we've got our tables, and about time to start cooking some dinner, I think.
Cool.
Come see us at Torpedo7 Albany. I'm more than happy to help you out, or any of the other Torpedo7 stores.
Again, thank you for tuning in, and good night. Happy camping. See you out there.